Hey there everybody! Guess what? We are finally live. Life Downloaded live. I'm here at Casa de Edge, and as always, joining me from Shez Renk, as she likes to call it. She's gorgeous, she's glorious, she is my pod wife, the lovely Samantha Renk. Say hi, Sam.
Well, hello, Mr. Danich. How are we?
We're good. There you are. We're live. We're in living colour. Everybody can see us. So for
And
once when we're doing
please never say Shez rank again.
Shez Rank, alright, I
Yeah,
will never say
Shez rank. Shez rank.
Shez Rank.
Yeah. I apologise for anyone who comes from France. You've just butchered your language.
Shez Rank. See, I
Shez
can
rank. Oui, voilà. Yes, we are live. It's very bizarre. I'm normally used to you being right next to me, eating all my food. So I'm actually quite glad that I'm saving on the cookies at the moment.
Generally, I come there and you're like, eat my cookies so I don't have to. So I feel like I'm being besmirched
genuine
right now.
cookies. Genuine cookies, not any euphemism.
No, indeed. Genuine chocolate chip, hopefully. But yeah.
I think go on, after you, Dan.
We're here, we're live, we're sort of in the room together because, like the rest of the world, we are on lockdown at the moment. And we realised that we hadn't done a podcast in a while and we thought that we should do something. So we thought, if we're going to come back, let's come back strong. Let's go all technical. Let's go live. You guys can actually join in if and when you're watching and drop comments on YouTube. This is kind of the plan. So if you do want to say something, join in. If you're not here and you're just listening to us on the podcast, it's kind of like those dodgy competitions on telly. Don't phone in because we can't answer you if you're listening to the recording. But this will go live on our usual podcast channels as well. But we're here and it's all technical and shiny and nice. So I'm quite excited.
I know. So because this is an experiment, forgive us if we have any technical errors. We will do our best. If you are a avid Life Downloaded listener, you will realise that I constantly harp on about the really annoying builders that are noisy all the time. They've decided to come out today because they didn't get the memo about isolation, and obviously the very expensive building behind where I live couldn't wait. So if you do hear a bit of pneumatic drill, that's what that is. And for anybody that hasn't listened to Life Downloaded, I think we should maybe do a little bit of an introduction and say how we know each other, who we are, first of all, and how we came about doing Life Downloaded, how we came up with the concept of Life Downloaded. So, Dan, I will let you take the platform, my darling.
Oh, so kind. So, yeah, basically...
always kind.
Always. So, basically, Life Downloaded came about because Sam and I, as 30-something wheelchair users, decided that we wanted to talk about stuff and the crazy life we lead within the arts industry and the media and all the stuff that comes with that, and being general wheelchair users and all the crazy stuff that comes with that. Spread some knowledge, spread some laughs, maybe educate some people, hopefully let some people nod their heads in agreement with some of the things we're saying if you are part of the disabled community. And yeah, we created this podcast. So this is episode 15, probably going to be named on the podcast Live and Dangerous because that's kind of how it feels right now. So if you want to catch up with the stuff that we've put out before on the podcast, look for Life Downloaded and you can find all our previous 14 episodes on there. If it is your first time, welcome to our crazy little part of the world.
Yes, welcome indeed. A few house rules, I suppose. I am a good northern lass, so I am not a stranger to dropping a few naughty words. So if you have got any children in the room, either lock them in the bathroom or maybe listen to this later on the official website. So just a bit of a warning there.
Put earphones in.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That was a sensible answer, wasn't it? That was a sensible answer. Never lock your children in the bathroom. That was bad advice. So I am Samantha Rank. I always hate introducing myself because I always feel absolutely narcissistic. I am an actor, presenter, campaigner, journalist. I call myself a bit of a Del boy, but one of my biggest passions is being a advocate and being a activist for the disability community. So this platform was really set up because I really love Dan and we get on like a house on fire, and it was just a good opportunity to kind of hang out with my mate, and also just to kind of really say things that maybe we are either hesitant to do so when I'm on television, or maybe feel like I have been kind of molded, maybe not to go too extreme, because unfortunately disability is still very much a taboo subject. We're still very awkward around disability, so I absolutely love it. It's quite therapeutic for me to talk on Life Downloaded. Sometimes it gets a little bit ranty, but on the whole, I think we always have a really strong message, and we always have humor at the heart of it. So I would also say, even though we're going through a really, really kind of crappy time right now, and it's very serious on many levels for many, many people, we want to keep this podcast light. So anything that we do joke about or laugh about, it is done in the best intentions, and we are not here to offend anybody. Okay, so that's who we are, and we kind of wanted today to kick off to talk about what we've been up to since we've been in isolation. One of my main things at the moment is, I don't know if you can see, I'm really upset. I had to take my false nails off.
Oh no!
Which, yeah, it really, really upsets me. And I don't know if you can see either. So I've actually scratched my face because my nails are natural and they're sharp. They're not acrylic anymore. I feel like a baby. You know, like when you put mittens on a baby, like because they scratch. So I literally scratch myself in my sleep. So I'm going to start wearing mittens or socks on my hands at night. And I'm sure if there's any females listening, you feel my pain. You feel my pain.
I'm currently trying to imagine you pushing your chair while wearing mittens, and I'm finding it quite comical. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yes, I'm a woman of many, many talents. I actually because we're doing a lot more FaceTiming now, aren't we? And we're doing like things like House Party and Zoom and all these
Yeah,
techie
lots
stuff.
of video conferencing
You know,
stuff.
exactly, which actually I really quite hate. I have to admit, but I was holding my phone and I was wheeling and I was on the phone to someone, and my friend found it absolutely fascinating. They were like, "How are you wheeling your wheelchair and holding your phone?" So it's kind of quite cute that people are now seeing a bit more of an insight into different like people's true worlds, because obviously social media, and even if we're out and about, even if we're dating, we always kind of want to present our best self. Whereas now, if you're dating online and you're FaceTiming someone every day, you're probably showing more of your true self. Would you agree, Dan?
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, talking on the dating side of things, like obviously I'm in a happy relationship right now. Yay, go me.
And I've got a cat.
You have got your cat, the lovely Lola, who
The
no
lovely
doubt
Lola.
will
What
make
more
an
could a woman
appearance at
want?
some point. She will make an appearance at some point.
She
But
probably will.
yeah, I'm in a relationship right now, so I'm not on the dating apps and stuff. But I did see an article on the BBC about people having first FaceTime dates because
Yes.
of being in lockdown, and I was like, okay. And I don't know, maybe do you get done up? Do you put makeup on? Do you go all out, or do you just chill in your pajamas like you do for the rest of lockdown? If that's how you're chilling through lockdown and it's more
See,
comfortable for you.
yeah, I think you should keep to your routine. So I personally love putting makeup on. I don't do it for anyone else. I genuinely like put it on for me. So I quite like it. It's like it's quite therapeutic for me. However, so if you look today, I've got like a normal top on, and then I'm gonna zoom out. Oh yeah, got my pajamas.
Oh, there you go.
Got my pajamas on. So I think you can do a bit of a mix and a match at the moment.
Mix and match.
But they said that there's going to be like loads and loads of babies being born
Yes.
from blocking, like the baby boom.
Maybe that maybe there will be. I mean, I won't be part of it because sadly, my girlfriend. Well, I don't want kids. Let's throw that out there. But sadly, my girlfriend
You've
and I
got
live
me.
in.
You don't need kids.
No, well, sadly, my girlfriend and I live in separate houses, so we are very much on lockdown and can't see each other for however long this lasts, especially with myself being on the not really vulnerable list, but the original vulnerable really adhere to social distancing list. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those where my girlfriend...
Dan, we know that we need to use our imagination, and I am a bit partial to something we called sexting.
I saw this. You posted on Instagram a couple of days ago. Was it a couple of
Yes.
days ago? That you have got into sexting again. I'm not going to ask for details. It is only lunchtime. We may drop the occasional swear word, but we're not that far away from the watershed.
Oh, I don't know. Do you not know me? Do you not know me that well? No, but I think sexting, regardless of being on a lockdown, for me personally, having a disability and being a woman with a disability, sexting has been a really nice way for me to build up my confidence. I've got a condition called brittle bones, so I can break my bones quite easily, and it, there's always been that awkward phase of when you've been with someone and they don't quite know, particularly if they're non-disabled, they don't particularly know what brittle bones entails. They can get sometimes a bit carried away, I'm saying that they've got to pick me up and throw me around and do all that type of stuff, and I know, right, it sounds exciting, and I think if they were to say that to me in person and I were to be like, it ain't gonna happen, I think that would kill the mood a little bit. So at least on sexting, you can let someone get a little bit overexcited and then kind of bring them down slowly. And also, I think you can actually find out what you feel comfortable with and what you quite like, and you can, I think you can really kind of explore your sexuality. And I think in a time like this, that's really important. I mean, I was sexting someone the other day, and they just got a little bit like, it was just OTT by the end of it, like really quite intense. And and it was quite nice because I actually said, like, I don't wake up in the morning and want to like sext you every 20 minutes. That's too much for me. So it's quite nice to be able to set those boundaries, because what you can do is you can build up your confidence by setting boundaries on social media, so on your phone, on kind of chatting as we are now, so that when you eventually get out of this isolation, you have that confidence to be like, no, that's not for me. And I think have some fun with it. Have you ever sexted? Why am I finding that hard to say?
Sexted? Have I ever sexted? Yeah, I think it's a part of modern relationships. I definitely have. And I think it is, but I think it'll be interesting to see if people that have had relationships that have formed in isolation, whether they, when we're all released back into the wild, for want of a better way to put it, whether people will, go nuts, get physical, and they'll all break down, or whether those relationships will be stronger because you've had all the conversation beforehand. Does that make sense?
I'm hoping for the latter.
Of course, I think everybody is.
However, what we've learned is humans are a peculiar breed, not always the most kind of giving and compassionate breed, as we've probably found out after some of the kind of headlines that we've seen in the news. I think my biggest fear, to be honest, because I think when you're disabled, you're no stranger to isolation, and it's that whole thing of actually self-isolating voluntary is actually quite a privilege. I don't know about you, Dan, but I've definitely had. I mean, I've had over 200 broken bones, so I've been on bed rest a lot, or even just going out and about. I mean, we might want to go somewhere. We go to a train station and the lift is broken, so we miss our train. So as a disabled person, we face social exclusion, social isolation due to health or just kind of blatant discrimination daily. So I think for me, I've kind of seen this as a very it's not being I don't know, it's not being without its problems, don't get me wrong, but I've kind of really adapted to it really quite quickly, and I've definitely put a lot of effort into making sure that I see the positives, and I really hope after, as you said, when we get released back into the wild, I really hope that people have a bit more compassion and have a bit more empathy. My biggest fear is they won't. It's a little bit like have you had like the toothache effect? You've got toothache, and all you can think about is toothache, and you hate having toothache, and you just wish and wish and wish you never had toothache. And you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm gonna, look after my teeth better. I'm not gonna eat as many sweets." And then as soon as your toothache is gone, it's like, hello, diet, not Diet Coke, hello, full fat Coke, and only brushing your teeth once in a fortnight. So it's I think my biggest fear is people are not going to implement all the kindness and all the empathy that we are actually seeing happen right now. And if that is the case, if people don't change their ways, it makes me quite sad as a campaigner, because if something like this, as life affirming as this, doesn't change people, then all the work of you or I as campaigners, is that gonna, will that change?
Yeah.
Sorry to lower the tone.
No.
Completely make everyone depressed.
From sexting to changing the world. By the way, Lisa S, who is watching, agrees with you and says wearing pajamas during the day is one of life's pleasures. So enjoy it.
I have put a bra on though. I'm so proud of myself. But look, me and Dan always say that we will have a Life Downloaded naked Tuesday.
Or a late night version. It's been debated.
Can we do a late night version? I'm not going to be completely naked because, let's face it, I would rather people pay money for that.
Indeed.
But I reckon we should have an underwear.
An underwear
we should
version.
Definitely have an underwear version. If you want that, message us, tweet us. Okay. It might be pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I might need to be let out into the wild and back into the gym before we do it. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like from sexting to changing society, this is the joy of Life Downloaded. And I think, it is one of those things that at the moment everybody's going, oh, video conferencing, we can all work from home, we can all do this, we can all do that. And it's a lot more of it's happening, but you and I know, having worked with the deaf and disabled community for a long, long time, that this is something the deaf and disabled community has been championing for a long, long time. And people have gone, oh, no, it's not possible. And it's amazing what's become possible out of necessity, which was really quite easy in the first place. And I kind of hope, I want to see the best in people, where, people go, okay, well, it is possible. We've done it. So let's use those things and, keep them in place and everything else. But much like yourself, you were talking about toothache. I'll use an example of the Olympic and Paralympic Games in 2012. People were stood there with ramps on tube stations in London so that people could get to the Olympic Stadium for the events. They disappeared after the Olympic Games. Why?
Yeah.
That could have stayed in place. And I hope that this that if anything good was to come out of this craziness, and believe me, we need to hold on to the good in what are essentially dark times for a lot of people, that hopefully this can be a societal shift and people will start going, okay, well, let's look at things differently because we know it's possible, especially for people in the deaf and disabled community. I definitely think that's a thing.
I completely agree with you, and I know that a lot of people, unemployment is very high in the disability community, and that is not necessarily because people are, lazy or they don't want to work, but it's because we face challenges. We face, corporations go, no, we don't want to Skype because, oh no, we don't want that. I mean, I work in television, and I know for a fact that every time someone had to Skype in or FaceTime in, the presenters would absolutely have a little bit of a hissy fit because, the worry was the connection would fail or the sound wasn't as great. And now what we're seeing is, we kind of don't care. And I think people, I think we need to give people a bit more credit. I'm not gonna care if there's a slight delay when someone's talking. I just care that I'm getting the information, or I just care that someone is representing me. But the fear, like you said, the fear is like the Paralympics, those ramps are going to be removed again. So I think what I will do, and I hope other people who are campaigners or within the community, we need to put pressure. We need to put pressure on society as a whole to not forget this time, because actually what they've said, sadly, is that although maybe in a year's time we will have a vaccination, this is going to be a regular occurrence, and we are going to have to definitely change how we live our lives. I think I am actually giving coaching lessons to companies because I feel like I know how to work remotely. I've got good tips and tricks and advice as someone with a disability, how to be freelance first of all, because I don't have a regular income, and to kind of guide people because we are kind of the experts in this area. Weirdly, I mean, it's so ironic, isn't it?
At the end of the day, deaf and disabled people have adapted for decades, hundreds of years, because we've had to. Because if you believe in the social model, which we often talk about on Life Downloaded, I'm not going to explain it now, but maybe Google it. Society doesn't work for deaf and disabled people, so we've always had to find ways around things and ways to make things work. And so this is in our wheelhouse. This is what we do, and this is why, for example, we could have just done a normal podcast, but we went, no, why not? Let's go crazy. Let's put video in and everything, because it gives us the option to. And normally Lola would be on my lap terrorizing me right now. So that's one of the benefits of working remotely. No, I love.
And for anyone that's just tuned in, Lola is my cat.
Yes.
That was not a weird reference to. Just FYI. I feel like we need to be very mindful. People might just be like popping in and out.
Well, this is true.
But yeah, no, I'm really quite hopeful. One of the things that I've been thinking about is the word vulnerable and how I've been described as vulnerable. Do you know what? Even before the pandemic, but also how that makes me feel and how I actually don't particularly like the term vulnerable. So I don't see myself as vulnerable. A little bit like we just mentioned, the social model. I'm only vulnerable if society doesn't embrace who I am and treats me equally. So I'm only going to starve if people panic buy. you know,
True.
or I am only going to get sick because I am a high risk. I'm more susceptible, definitely, to corona. I'm only going to get sick if people don't adhere to
Social
the
distancing.
advice and kind of stay at home. How do you feel about the word vulnerable? Because obviously, out in a different context, vulnerable can be quite endearing, and vulnerable, isn't necessarily a bad word, but at the moment, it can be quite dangerous to
Oh yeah,
label someone as vulnerable.
it's one of those things, isn't it, where language is always divisive. And what's acceptable to one person is not acceptable to another. And we often talk about, you know, language on Life Downloaded and the right language to use and the wrong language to use. The thing is with vulnerable is, okay, you and I have impairments that are both on the lists of vulnerable people in terms of COVID-19 and coronavirus. Um, because for whatever reason we are deemed more susceptible or whatever else. But I'm really the wrong person to look at in your traditional sense of the word vulnerable. I mean, I spent, 17 years in the professional wrestling business, um, getting hit and thrown around and punched in the face, and all that kind of thing. So I'm a really weird person, and much like you, I have that weird connection with the word vulnerable because, like most people, I don't feel vulnerable. I don't feel any less. I don't feel, you know, I would prefer the word susceptible maybe because, in terms of, you know, medical terms and the virus, I could be more susceptible
Mm.
to complications, but it doesn't necessarily mean I am vulnerable.
I
Um,
think that the trouble is we need to identify people, elderly people, or people that maybe don't have any assistance.
mm,
We need to identify these groups of people because they do need to access, if they can't go to the shops, they need someone to pick up some groceries for them. So we do need to kind of say, look, these are a section of society that at the moment, because I can't use my electric wheelchair down the street because there isn't any drop curbs. So if I were to go and get out and get shopping, I would have to get someone to push my wheelchair.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So we have to identify these people, otherwise they could potentially be left in a very very dangerous situation. But equally, when you give a word as vulnerable and it has so many undertones as being to, for me, it's like to be, they can't do anything for themselves. They need to be pitied. They're a bit of a burden. And when you kind of mish all that together and you have non disabled people saying, look, aren't we the heroes? We're helping these vulnerable people by dropping off food packages. But actually, on the flip side, when it comes to it, what we're seeing, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of reports at the moment where we've kind of got this at the moment, this hierarchy within society. Like, so my needs are not as important as someone else's needs. And when what that means in this pandemic is that someone like me or someone like you, Dan, because we are marked as vulnerable, we might not get a bed in a hospital, or we might not get to be allowed on a ventilator if the hospitals and the NHS are overrun. I mean, I even found out the other day because I've got a personal assistant. Now, a personal assistant is another term for a carer. I don't particularly like the word carer.
mm,
Some people do. I don't, because I just think my mum cares for me. She's the one that tells me to shut up and get back to bed and gives me chicken soup. My PA is someone that I employ and I pay on an hourly basis to assist me in a very disabling world.
yeah,
But I found out that because I have that care package in place, I would be deemed as one of those lower priorities. Because in the eyes of society, because I've asked for help and because I need help through no fault of my own, because our world isn't catered for me, I will then be at the bottom of the pecking order. And I think that's what's really scaring a lot of disabled people at the moment. Is this kind of hierarchy, a hierarchy we've always been aware of having a disability, because let's face it, every time we go out, we need to check whether there's a toilet we can go to. Who else in society? Who else in society has to check that? No one.
No.
So disabled people always do feel at the bottom of the pecking order. But when our lives are jeopardised, that pecking order all of a sudden becomes a very scary reality.
Indeed.
My rant is over.
Oh no, it's a well needed rant, and it raises some valid points. And it is a scary time for disabled people. But getting back to the original point of
Sexting.
Sexting. No, I'm not getting back to sexting. But getting back to the original point of the word vulnerable. Thinking of alternatives. Support is a valid term, People that need support. Vulnerable and support give two very different meanings in terms of these people need support. Great, get them the support. These people are vulnerable. Listening. If you look at those two words, they are very, very different and mean very, very different things. And it's a simple.
What does everyone think? Whoever's tuning in, is there anyone that agrees with that, or what words would you like?
Well, some people is saying they're not sure how cerebral palsy can be point blank put on the vulnerable list when it's got a massive spectrum. That's Kieran, and it's a valid shout, Kieran. I've thought this, having cerebral palsy myself. Cerebral palsy does have a massive spectrum, from people that need support with eating and stuff because their CP affects their ability to swallow, to people like myself that are a professional wrestler. It's CP has a massive spectrum, and it's not necessarily sort of immuno-related in terms of battling viruses. So it's interesting that people with cerebral palsy are on the list, but we are.
Yeah. Well, isn't it funny? So I am technically not on the list, even though I actually found out something about my condition just the other day from some specialists, that actually, because I don't have collagen in my body, so type 1 collagen, that is a big part of your lung makeup. Okay. And that is why I only have 50% lung capacity, and that is why a lot of so respiratory conditions are actually the biggest fatality of people with our condition. Yet I have not received a letter from the GP. I have not been deemed. I have taken it upon myself, because a few years back I got pneumonia and I ended up in a coma from pneumonia because my breathing was that bad. Wow. So I actually took it upon myself to label myself as one of the more susceptible members of this. But doesn't that, going back to your point, doesn't that just show how ignorant kind of decision makers, government bodies, are to disability? Because what you're saying, Dan, is, like most disabilities, there's a big spectrum, and one shoe does definitely not fit all. So for the government to go, oh, everyone with cerebral palsy is on there, that just shows how ignorant they are to cerebral palsy. Or that's how ignorant they are to rare conditions like my own osteogenesis imperfecta.
And this is the thing, like, I understand, and, I will fight government and battle government over things, and as an activist, and I always will. I understand this is complex, unprecedented, and all those words. I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's bowing to those people that have superior knowledge to yourself and asking those people that have superior knowledge to yourself. But, if self-isolation is the way forward, and it is for everybody at the moment, because now it's stay home, to the point that Maui Mastiff is curled up on the sofa and friends are doing their grocery shopping for them. So I am reading everybody's comments. It just takes me a while. So, people are helping and people are supporting, and that's great. And going back to the points we made earlier, I hope that it sticks around and people are more supportive and people are more understanding. But yeah, there's definitely some gaps and some gaping holes in the process that's going on at the moment. And I think part of it is because rushed policies are never good policies because they're never thought through.
No.
And they are trying to do a blanket approach. And I would, I'm not going to lie, I would rather be part of that blanket approach than become ill and be put in hospital and, be fighting for my life. Touch wood, hopefully that will never happen, and I never wish that on anybody. But if staying at home means I'm going to avoid that, then it's well worth me doing it. But I would still want to change the language around vulnerability and support, because vulnerable is a divisive word at the best of times.
So I promised everyone some laughs, and we got very deep and heavy, although I think it was justified. I have got a question for you, Mr. Dan Edge. What would you sell your body for if you could have one thing right now? So, I said that I ran out of batteries. I'm not going to tell you what the batteries are for, but I would tell you that I ran out of batteries a few years ago when I lived with my flatmate Andy. Andy, God bless him, he was in hospital, and because I desperately needed these batteries for, just something personal, I went into his bedroom, although I didn't have permission to go in his bedroom, and stole the batteries out of his alarm clock. So I could really use some batteries right now, obviously for my cat's toys, obviously, for Lola.
Of course. Not your personal...
What would you sell your body for right now, Dan? Just in exchange for something.
See, I miss seeing my girlfriend, and I know we can't do that right now.
I mean tangible, inanimate object.
Tangible, inanimate object. Okay. What do I want right now? I haven't thought about this. You've dropped this question on me.
You're rubbish. Is anyone answering what they would want?
What would you guys want that are watching? If you could have one inanimate object right now, throw it up in the...
Say it properly. What would you sell your body for? What would you sell your body for?
Right now.
This is the big one right now, for something to eat or to drink or a game, or like me, batteries.
Batteries. The reason you're using the mind boggles as to why you might need batteries, Miss Rank.
Who knows?
Indeed, I mean, we were talking about sexting earlier. The mind boggles.
Leave that up to all your imaginations.
Although, talking of which, you've been saying about sexting and all that kind of stuff. My lovely other half sent me a joke article from the Daily Mash about how women are feeling, their libidos are going through the roof right now.
Yes.
Because of being in lockdown. Is this your experience, Miss Rank? Because apparently my girlfriend says it's very much hers. So.
Yes. So I struggle quite a lot with anxiety. In the past couple of months, my libido has been non-existent, and I just think any women that are listening right now, it's because we are just so darn busy. We're darn busy looking after men who just can't look after themselves half the time because they're just, incapable of everything. We're multitasking, we're doing everything. So sometimes our libido just takes a little bit of a back step. And then as soon as it was like, oh my God, yeah, I really do now need to isolate. I got a little bit of the horny devil going on. So I think it's true. And I reckon it is possibly something to do with our animalistic side of in our subconscious, we know that we can't reproduce at the moment, even though doesn't mean that I necessarily want to have kids, but probably somewhere deep down inside, my cave woman within is saying, oh my God, I can't bear children right now, and I need to do that. Or it's because we don't have to put up with men or whoever your partner is, and deal with everybody else's dramas and kind of juggle 10 million things. So we actually have time to feel a little bit sexy.
I see. See, now as a modern man, this confuses me a little bit, because what you're basically telling me is lock me down and my libido will go through the roof, but I'm also a modern woman, so let me out and do everything that I need to do. This is challenging.
Pretty much. We are a complex breed. We are a complex breed. But you wouldn't have us any other way, would you, my darling?
Of course not. Of course not. I am very lucky to have some amazing women in my life.
And as Beyonce says, we rule the world. I'm sure she said that, didn't she? Did she say that?
Beyonce probably did say that, to be fair.
I don't know. That was me trying to be cool.
No, I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it. I'm just not that much of a follower of Beyonce.
Can you edit that bit out? Or no, we're live on.
No, we're live. There's no editing. Do not swear. We are live on YouTube.
I think this has gone quite well. I don't know. People listening might be thinking, "What on earth?"
They might.
It's very.
They are welcome in our crazy Life Downloaded world, as everybody always is. And you want a bigger garden to let your medical alert and assistance dog out. I can appreciate that, especially with it being a German Shepherd. I have a German Shepherd that's at my house quite regularly, and they are big old dogs and they like a run around. So I can appreciate that. But at least, you're allowed to walk the dog in these crazy times. So not ideal, I know, but at least you're allowed to walk the dog.
And this is temporary. We need to bear that in mind. This is temporary, and this will, this will. I don't know when. Obviously, no one knows when, but we will go back to some form of normality. So I think we just need to keep reminding ourselves of that, and not be too hard on ourselves. I know that I've got a cat, and I feel, even though she's an indoor cat, but because I'm here all the time, she really wants my attention. And I know it's difficult when we've got animals because we kind of don't care about ourselves. But when you've got an animal or a child or someone that's a bit more dependent, you start to feel quite guilty. So don't give yourself a hard time. I'm sure that your dog is just happy to be loved and to be fed and to be able to go for a poop.
Indeed, because that's all you need in life. And
you really do.
Apparently, batteries. You need to.
Go on, batteries.
To eat, poop, sleep, loved, and batteries.
Batteries.
Who knows? Well, guys, we've been going for about 40 minutes now. So we should probably, wrap this up because you've probably got other crazy things you want to do.
I want wine now.
In your isolation days. Sam wants to drink wine. I probably need to catch up on emails and all those really exciting things.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. You make me look like a proper, Okay, so I also need to go and check my emails.
Others of you probably need to do like PE or something. But as Live Downloaded Live goes, this seems to have gone pretty well.
We're doing all right.
Yeah, we're not doing too bad. So we'll probably do this again. Maybe once a week. We might even get some friends on board. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, feel free to join us live next time. We'll tweet about it. We'll Instagram about it. Obviously, this is going to be on the YouTube to watch on the replay. But like all good competitions, well, you can type in the comments, actually, because we can read them.
Oh, yeah, because we can read them.
It's
we
YouTube.
Can totally read them.
So feel free to comment. Feel free to join in. If you want us to talk about anything next episode, why not give us an idea? And we'll probably be back at some point next weekish, I guess.
And
unless
if you
guys
text me, DM me. Slip into my DM.
Hey, if you want to sext Sam, DM her. There's an offer that I never thought we would make on Life Downloaded. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for listening if you're on the replay. This has been episode 15. Live and dangerous. It will be on the podcast in a bit. It will be on YouTube as of now. It's been fun. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye.